Fáilte and welcome to the third video in this series for the Naptime Stitches, the Ruby bunny pattern. So today we're going to take on joining the two legs together, and I'm just going to go down to where we can find this in the pattern. So you can see that Naptime Stitches has very clearly laid out in picture format what we're going to do. It is a little bit tricky, so I'm just going to explain to you what's actually going to happen. So you've made the first leg, okay, and all as I want you to do now is to finish off the first leg, and you're just going to put use one chain, pull through, cut the yarn, pull through, and then you can just stuff this down here. And before we start, we're just going to stuff these stitches, the stuffing down just a little bit, because we'll be making stitches around here. So there's leg one and here's leg two. Now, for the purposes of this video and to show you, I have actually changed the color of the yarn, all right? So I'm now continuing on using the Callista swirl. So check out your pattern, and it's always a good idea to actually read it. So I've tried to do this video a few times, and what I've noticed is there's one core really important part, and I'll explain this to you. But when you're doing this, you see we have done one leg and the second leg, and it's this join that we're doing. And this is what's so difficult, okay, because you have to do you've finished off, this is leg two, and you do two chains over, and then you're going to work in the round to make the actual torso, okay, and you will increase with stitches. So the stitch markers are going to be really important here. So you're told to put in a stitch marker into the first stitch you've made on leg two, okay? And you can see that that's cream. Leg one is brown. And then we're going to put in a stitch marker into the third stitch from the end, okay? So I'm regarding where we finished off our work as the end, and then we're doing 1, 2, 3, okay? So I know it's going to go in there. So the next thing I'm going to do is do two nice big, I hate using the F word, the fat word, but two nice thick chains, and then I'm going to lie down my work. Now, what's really important is these cannot be twisted, because if they are twisted, okay, and they're round the wrong way, all right, there's the wrong way, okay, there are little nodules that we can use, but just keep them flat, because you can very clearly see these will be the loops. Oh, that's broken. These will be the loops that we'll be using. These are the back loops we need to use, okay? So basically, can you imagine now you're continuing on in the round, but you're doing the first row of the round on leg one, and then you're going to hop back over into leg two to continue the round, and then you're going to fly up. Don't worry, just push all down the stuffing, and we can restuff the body and the legs when we get going again, okay? So there's our two chain, and in here, okay, I'm sorry, it's into the stitch marker. I'm doing the first stitch, okay? So there is plunge, pull up a loop, and two in the hook, and take them off. That is your single crochet or your double crochet. Now, so I'm just going to get I'm laying down the first fella there, and I think it's really handy if you can do this on a table, okay, because your work won't be moving. And then I'm just going to try ever so gently, just keep those chains facing the way they are, okay, and work around. And the most important stitch is coming up here, where we go back in, and on our join, we're going to do when we first joined onto this stitch where the red stitch marker is, we're going to put in a second double crochet in there. So I'm just going to keep continuing around, okay? Now, this fella here, you see, when we work in the round, there's really no start and no finish. So we sort of, you can see now where I put in this stitch marker, that was really the start, and that I left that there because that helped me when I was counting all the way up to get 38. So we know this is really the start here, and in this particular stitch, right, we're just going to do a nice tight double crochet, and then into the one down here beside it, okay, we're continuing on working in the round, okay, and filling in those extra stitches. Now, so how this is going to work successfully for us, okay, is I'm going to take out that stitch marker, and I know, because I counted this, all right, that I have 11 stitches done, okay, and then I'm down into this bit here where it's asking me now, all right, to stitch over the yarn end from leg 1. I've just done that, and then I'm going to do the single crochet or the double crochet into the same stitch as the first single crochet made on leg 1, and that'll give me a total of 13 stitches, okay? So what I need to do is, okay, there are my chains, okay, and if you like, okay, you see the way it's so easy to twist them, okay? So I need to go into the same stitch. So there is the same stitch, and I'm doing a double crochet and up I come, okay? Now, the next thing I need to do is just flatten these guys out, okay? And can you see very clearly, okay? And I'm going to ask you now to get stitch markers, okay? And I want you to put them in into the front loop. So there's one there, okay? And here's the second one. So when you're coming back, you will know where they are. And when you do this properly, when you do this properly, the seam is, you can't actually see the seam there, okay? So that's what we're trying to do. And this particular stitch brings us up to the height that we need to go, okay? So basically, I'm going in here, okay? So I'm down to this part here, and I hope you can see the screen, okay? I'll just bring this up here. And then one single crochet into each of the back loops of the two chains. Make sure not to flip the leg so the chain is not twisted. And then we're going to do single crochet around in the same stitch as, start that again. Then a single crochet in the same stitch as the last single crochet in the second leg. It's the first single crochet in round 9. So if I do this properly, I'm going to bring myself over to this side here, okay? Now, as I've told you, I have tried this video a few times, okay? And I think for me, where I went wrong was not getting this stitch into the same position there. That's what caused me my problem, okay? And I'm now going in to the next top loop, okay? Or sorry, back loop of the stitches. Now, you see, I'm back here now, okay? And I need to go in there because that's what it asked me to do. And again, this is handy because I can explain the pattern to you, okay? So then we're going to into the same stitch here. Now, I told you it's awfully fiddly, okay? So in we go again, okay? And you can see now, it'll be very clear for you to see because I'm using the colors, but you see the way I can twist, okay? And the other thing I've just noticed when I was doing the legs is that when you roll the legs, now you see here, we're just going to stuff this down. When you roll the legs as if it's like a piece of pastry, okay? When you do that, it will help you, okay, do a nice stuffing. So this is sort of technique can help you greatly when you're stuffing the legs. Now, let's get going around here, okay? So in we go again. So you can very clearly see, okay, the stitches here. And when you put your stitch markers into this fella here, you know where when you put your stitch markers into the back, into the front loop, which is now at the back, you know where you're going to go, okay? And this is a really important technique because it's for making many different animals that you can use this technique, and it would be the same if it was a dog with your forelegs and making your torso, okay? So I'm just continuing around here, all right, until I come back into the first stitch. So the first and the last single crochet that you have placed in the same stitch in each leg might be a little bit snug, so make sure you don't miss them when you're going around in round 40. Okay, now I would just say to you is this is where you're looking for your double stitches. Okay, so if you want, you can put in a stitch marker just to let you know, but you will see them. Okay, and just put down your work. Okay, and just make sure that you can see them now. So we've come now, all right, to the part, sorry, this is just fallen out now. So we had, actually they've both fallen out. So this is the start, okay? And if you look at your work over here, you'll see two little V's, okay? So this is that's where they were talking about, but we'll continue around anyway, okay? So just going to take this out here, okay? And the pattern, I'll just go back to the pattern now. And the pattern is then going to say, okay, down here, so it wants a second crochet stitch, a second double crochet stitch into this particular place, okay? Now, into the back loop again, all right, we're doing 1, 2, okay? Now, as was said, okay, we want to make sure that we're getting, so there's the 2 back loops done, okay? And then it said we've to make sure that we're not forgetting about the stitches here. So we can go in here, okay, and do our double crochet, okay? So that's 1, and the stitch beside it, and then we're going to go around. So if you like, this is how it's going to look, but I'm going to continue it around, okay, on the first round 40, just to show you what it's going to look like. And when you've got a little bit of the body done, maybe up, say 5 rows, okay, finish off doing your stuffing in your legs then, okay, up to 5 rows, and you can then start, when you build up the torso, you can then start stuffing it. Every sort of 5 rounds you need to be putting in extra work. Now you can see this isn't going to twist, and if you like, you've noticed I haven't counted, okay? And the reason why I haven't counted is I've sort of done this a few times now, so I know that all my stitches are correct. So it's just fiddly, okay, to get this little base done, okay? Now, so I just want to go around and I want to make sure, now again, stitch markers are your best friend here, because we want to, when we're going around, okay, I'll show you now where to put your stitch marker, okay? So because we've already done, okay, our stitches, okay, and if you like, the extra stitches are hanging over the top of the leg, if you like, okay? So that's where they're being incorporated up here. So that's 1 extra stitch, 2, okay? Whoops, see the way it likes to twist? Okay, 3. Now, so you can see now I've 2 brown rows there, okay? And then I'm carrying over here, and look, when I made Bunny in Ruby Bunny in the Sheepies acrylic, one leg was longer than the other, so Please now, I'm not into perfectionism because life is too short to be worrying about little errors like that. Nobody's going to notice it, well, except me, and I really don't mind. We call it a feature, just a little something that Ruby Bunny has now. So if you see, I'm now coming towards the end here, okay? And when I'm coming towards the end, when we know down here is really the end of row 1, because it's really where the 2 stitches are sitting. So I'm going to suggest where we started with the joins, okay, this is going to be your new end and beginning, okay? And then you're just going to continue on, all right, until you reach here, okay? And you can very clearly see, okay, how many rows I've done, okay? So when we, that is how it's going to look. Now it looks a bit cumbersome, because remember there's more stuffing, you know, it not cumbersome, but it looks a little misshapen. But when your stuffing goes into it, trust me, it'll be fine, okay? So I hope you enjoy that. Thank you now. Bye bye.